Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed by life and thought, I need to escape? You're not alone. A lot of English learners I talk to feel stuck, not just in their language journey, but in life. Too many lessons, too many rules, and no real connection. But what if learning English could feel like an unexpected adventure? Like stepping into a story you didn't plan, where each moment teaches you without effort? That's exactly why we use storytelling. It's not just more fun, it helps your brain learn naturally, just like a child does. When you follow a journey, you absorb vocabulary, grammar, and sentence rhythm without even noticing. So hit that subscribe button. You're not just learning English, you're living it, one story at a time. It began on a quiet Thursday morning. The city felt heavier than usual. The noise, the traffic, the endless list of things to do. It was all too much. So he closed his laptop, grabbed a small backpack, and without telling anyone, walked out the door. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't open a map. He didn't book a hotel. He just walked toward the edge of the city with one simple goal, to find a village, any village, far from the sound of car horns and screens. After a few train connections and one long ride in a dusty bus, he found himself stepping off onto a dirt road surrounded by trees. No signs, no shops, no familiar sounds. The only thing he heard was the wind playing with the leaves. He started walking again, this time slower, listening to his footsteps and to the birds above. After what felt like an hour, he saw a wooden sign with faded letters. He couldn't read the language, but it looked old enough to mean something real. That's when he knew, this was the place. The village appeared slowly, like it had been hiding behind the trees. It was small, with only a few houses made of stone and wood. A dog barked in the distance. An old man sat on a bench, peeling apples. He looked up and nodded. No words. Just a nod, and somehow, that was enough. He walked into what looked like a small shop. Inside, a woman was arranging jars on a shelf. She smiled and said something he didn't understand. He smiled back. Then pointed at a jar. She laughed, nodded, and wrapped it in paper. They didn't need words. That moment, the smile, the laugh, the kindness, taught him more about communication than any textbook ever could. He spent the afternoon wandering through the village. Children played with sticks and stones. A group of women sat outside, weaving something he couldn't name. The air smelled like firewood and soup. There were no restaurants, no hotels, and no Wi-Fi. He didn't care. As the sun began to set, a man gestured for him to follow. He took him to a small barn where a blanket was laid out on some hay. He understood. That would be his bed for the night. They shared bread and cheese under the moonlight. No questions, no introductions. Just presence. Just being there. That night, he didn't set an alarm. He let the rooster be his clock. At dawn, he woke to the sound of birds and the smell of wet grass. He stretched, stepped outside, and watched the morning fog lift slowly off the hills. The next day, he helped an old woman carry buckets of water from the well. She pointed, he followed. She laughed, he laughed. Language wasn't needed. Intentions were louder. By noon, a boy handed him a folded piece of paper. On it was a rough map, hand-drawn with symbols and arrows. It led to a viewpoint, the boy explained with his hands. He followed the trail, which was barely there, just dirt and branches. After half an hour of climbing, he reached the top. What he saw took his breath away. Hills rolled endlessly into the horizon. Smoke curled gently from a chimney far below. The village looked like a tiny dot in a sea of green. He sat there for hours, just watching. He didn't take pictures. He didn't check his phone. He just looked, and felt more alive than he had in years. That evening, as he walked back into the village, he realized something. He hadn't spoken more than 10 words all day, yet he had learned more than he had in 100 conversations. The village didn't give him answers. It gave him silence. Space. A chance to listen, not just to others, but to himself. He stayed another night. Then another. And another. He helped fix a fence. He peeled potatoes. He carried wood. With each task, his thoughts became clearer. His heart became lighter. On the 5th morning, he knew it was time to leave. But something had changed. He wasn't running anymore. He was returning, with a mind that had learned stillness, and with English words that now had color, emotion, and memory attached to them. When he stepped back into the city, nothing looked different. But everything felt different. You might think this is just a story. But think about it. How many words did you just understand without trying? How many phrases, expressions, and ideas became clear just by following the journey? That's the power of story-based learning. It teaches you the way life does, naturally, emotionally, and with purpose. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. Where would you go if you had no map and no plan? And what would you hope to discover? Subscribe for more stories that don't just teach English, they bring it to life.